All right. Hello. This is my t-shirt of the week. Do you like it? Hello. And welcome to me screaming into the void. Today, we are talking about 30 movies that I have planned to be watching in the Halloween week. Let me explain. I am almost done with my Hooptober challenge. I will update you on the entire challenge in the beginning of November. However, I'm almost done. I don't know about you. I like challenges, kind of, not... It was the first time I have done anything like this where I'm challenging myself with a couple of horror movies and rules and stuff. Usually I just go into it and think later, what have I done to myself? This particular list of movies are movies that I have planned to watch for 2025, specifically during the Halloween week. And I would like to share them with you because I would like to know your thoughts. I would like to know how you pick and choose your movies for Halloween season, because Halloween for me is not something that I have ever celebrated as a child. When I celebrate Halloween, for me as an adult, it's more of a thing where I will rewatch movies I've particularly enjoyed and that have a certain vibe that brings the Halloween spirit. I do like the whole entire period of October just because there is a lot of horror movies coming out. There is horror in the air. Even normies like to watch horror movies just because the horror community seems to grow exactly in this month, and you have much more enthusiasm for the genre that usually is left out. Every year my Halloween lineup changes a little depending on my mood and the year I've had and how much depth I can handle before November hits. Sometimes I lean more into this moody atmospheric horror. However, this year my list is less brooding and more campy carnage, gore, chaos, sass, and a few unhinged and unapologetic choices. Before we start, I have a quick disclaimer for the purists out there. There will be no Conjuring-verse, just not my vibe. The last movie I shall not talk about. If you want a full review, let me know in the comments below. However, I feel like it's the Disneyfication of horror. Blumhouse, you have done it. It was a mess, okay? It was a mess. I didn't like it. Fight me on it in the comments. It was not up my wheelhouse, okay? You might have noticed that I generally don't talk about Robert Eggers movies. That's because I don't particularly like his movies. Not because they're not well made. I will not disagree on that point. However, they're just not my vibe. I watched all of them. Yes, of course I watched all of them. The thing is that every time horror movies make a huge fuss in the news, in the community, in anywhere and everywhere, I will watch them. I have watched Willem Dafoe's Ding-a-Long in The Lighthouse. That was one scene I found particularly amusing. I didn't read much into it because it seemed to be two men getting drunk and going insane. I feel like I would not have gone insane. I would have picked up a bit of knitting, brought a couple of books, and it would have been fine. Okay, maybe I would have started drinking alcohol. I don't know. But I feel like they completely and utterly went bananas. I also watched Nosferatu and I was like, okay. I know there's people out there who love Eggers. Good on you that you understand the depth of his movies. The usual suspects like Cabin in the Woods, It Follows, etc. are taking the year off because I've watched them enough times to be able to summon their quotes in my sleep. And as much as I love those snowbound nightmares like The Shining, The Thing, Misery, and many more, they belong into my December watch list.
Here's Johnny!
So if you're wondering where all those movies are that many of you enjoy, and I too enjoy because Misery is a masterpiece, they are coming. Just not right now. Because I have seasons of horror. That's the point of being a horror fanatic. You have seasons. I watched the lovey-dovey ones in February. I watch Midsommar and stuff like that in summer. I have for every season movies that I plan to watch. If you would like, I can make every quarter of a year. I can make like top 25 movies I like to watch that are seasonal. Why cram everything into one session when you have the entire year to watch them? And yes, I'm already working on a 24 days of winter horror madness. Don't you worry, it's coming. So let's descend into my Unholy 13, the movies that make this year, October, feel alive, undead, and a little unhinged. First up, Slither, 2006, directed by James Gunn, starring Nathan Fillion, Elizabeth Banks, and Michael Rooker. It's about a small-town sheriff that faces a grotesque alien parasite that turns his neighbors into a hive-minded swarm of flesh-hungry creatures, complete with slithering worms, bodies split in two, and gallons of slime. This movie is gooey, funny, and gloriously disgusting. The perfect mix of creature feature and splatter comedy. Slither is pure R-rated chaos, from slugs popping out of a bloated woman, people being split literally into half, and a zombified deer attack in a diner. I love it. The practical effects were handled by Todd Masters and Masters Effects. Almost all major creature shots used puppetry and prosthetics instead of CGI. And Gunn cited Cronenberg's Shivers and The Brood as direct influences, alongside with a nod to Japanese body horror aesthetics like Uzumaki from 2000. For me, this movie is just going to be another fun ride. I love Gunn's humor. You notice his influence also in his later movies. He can't seem to keep his hands off of gross out body horror. If you have watched the last episode of Peacemaker, you know exactly what I mean. And I love that about him. Trick or Treat, 2007. Listen, I love this movie. It's directed by Michael Dougherty, starring Anna Paquin, Brian Cox, and Dylan Barker. One Halloween night, 5 stories that intertwine. A woman that breaks the hallowed rules, a jack-o'-lantern carving session turned grisly, an urban legend of the Halloween school bus massacre that returns, Little Red Riding Hood experiences her first time, and a Halloween hater gets his comeuppance. Halloween candy-coated vengeance at its finest. Sam, the burlap creature, originated in Dougherty's animated shorts Season's Greetings in 1996. It's so well made, it has so many elements, they're all very vengeful, they're all very Halloweeny. The kids that played in the bus massacre were played by young actors, some of which had real disabilities, and Dougherty had said that they had a real blast on set. Nearly every story overlaps visually with the others. Background character crossovers connect them into this continuous loop instead of making it just linear. For example, the dead school bus kids appear leaving Mr. Creek's house in the opening scene. This movie is definitely one of the staples that I keep rewatching during the season. Zombieland, 2009, directed by Ruben Fleischer. It's starring Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, and Abigail Breslin. In a post-apocalyptic zombie-infested America, 4 survivors, a neurotic gamer, a Twinkie-obsessed cowboy, and 2 grifting sisters road trip through the wasteland, perfecting zombie kill of the week, while trying to stay alive and enjoying the little things. This movie is hilarious, heartfelt, and gory in equal measures. Those rules that were set up by Jesse Eisenberg's character just keep reminding me sometimes to really enjoy the little things and look for Twinkies in the most unusual places. The movie began as a pitch for a TV series, which is where the recurring zombie kill of the week gag came from. Scream, 1996, directed by Wes Craven, starring Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Skeet Ulrich, and Matthew Lillard. In the quiet town of Woodsboro, a masked killer begins stalking teenagers, calling them at night, quizzing them on horror trivia, and leaving behind a bloody trail of bodies. Listen, this is by far my absolute favorite horror movie of all times, and it will never change. This movie made me fall in love with horror movies. I did love horror before this. I was reading scary books and stuff, but this movie cemented my love for horror. I will never not like this movie, and I will never not watch this movie at least once a year. It's slick, it's scary, darkly funny. It reinvented slashers for the 90s, mixing comedy with tension and bloody fun kills. The original title of this movie was literally Scary Movie. The Scary Movie filmmakers then took that and made it a parody. Drew Barrymore was supposed to be Sydney, but switched to opening victim role, creating one of horror's most iconic fake outs. I love it also because at that time, Drew Barrymore in the 90s was a name. People knew her from everywhere. And then taking this actress who is known worldwide and putting her as the first victim in Scream and literally spilling her guts. I'm laughing because it's such a good scene and it was so violent. People were not expecting it. Halloween, age 20, 20 years later from 1998, directed by Steve Miner, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Josh Hartnett, Michelle Williams, LL Cool J, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. 20 years after surviving the babysitter murders, Laurie Strode has a new name, a new life, and a serious case of trauma, until Michael Myers finds her at a remote California boarding school and forces one final showdown. Final. You know that it wasn't final, but at that time it was kind of final. It is this sleek 90s return to an old slasher. It has a very tight runtime. It has autumn vibes. It's Jamie Lee Curtis reclaiming the final girl crown. It's very campy. It's awesome fun, and I like it way more than the other ones just because it goes more into a fun direction. On that note, Kevin Williamson, who wrote Scream, did uncredited script work which explains the snappy dialogue and the teenage meta-energy. The film was released exactly 20 years after John Carpenter's 1978 Halloween, which is why the title uses age 20. Janet Leigh, Jamie Lee Curtis's real mother and Psycho legend, makes a cameo driving the same car from Psycho, complete with the license plate. Here's a little fun tidbit. I've started picking up movies in hard copies because I feel like, you know, if I'm already gonna say that I love Scream so much, I'm gonna get the hard copy. And the same goes for age 20. Next up, 13 Ghosts from 2001. I know, shocker. Why would I like 13 Ghosts? Low-key, I think I'm not the only one. It's directed by Steve Beck and it's starring Tony Shalhoub, Matthew Lillard, and Shannon Elizabeth. It's about a widowed father who inherits a bizarre glass mansion from his eccentric uncle, only to discover it's a machine powered by 13 trapped ghosts with severe anger issues. When the containment seals break, all spectral hell cuts loose. It's the most gloriously early 2000s haunted house movie imaginable. There is glass walls etched with Latin spells, strobe-lit corridors, and ghosts that look like they walked straight out of the ninth circle of hell. I adore the fact that this movie exists. Is it perfect? Not at all. It does not have a storyline that makes a lot of sense. It's basically just characters running around a house and trying to escape the ghosts. That's about it. However, the love that has been put into the ghosts, what they look like, what their backstories are, is amazing. It has Matthew Lillard in it. It is campy, gory fun. I love the designs on the ghosts. And I also like the fact that every ghost has a complete backstory and cause of death written into this ghost Bible, even though most of the information never made it on screen. The jackal was so heavily costumed that the poor actor Shane Weiler fainted twice during shooting. I'm laughing because I have severe claustrophobia, and just imagining being in a costume that is so packed on, ooh, nightmare. The house set was built from actual glass panels. 15,000 square feet of them, which constantly smudged and slowed production down because fingerprints were ruining every shot. And James Gunn did uncredited rewrites before moving on to Dawn of the Dead, which also explains why the dialogue is so bantery, I guess. Curse of Chucky 2013. I know, all of you are like, most probably, I'm imagining you're sitting there watching this video and are like, wait. Why not the original? I have watched a lot of original movies over and over the years, and this year I was kind of sick of it, and I wanted to watch the more spooky versions, the more campy versions, just the newer versions that don't suck necessarily. I just rewatched Friday the 13th from 2000. I don't know. I know that what's his face? Ugh, I hate him. I'm sorry, but I hate him. He produced it. There was so much dumb effery going on in this movie. It made me so mad. My brain cells died. I was like, what the heck is this movie? Why does it exist? Who greenlit this nonsense? Are you proud of your work? Are you? Anybody else rewatched the movie and thought like, what the heck was this? I care so little about this movie that I will not look up when it was made or who produced it or who directed it. I just know that there was a lot of horniness going on, and not the good kind like in Final Girls, just the bad kind, the way that What's-His-Face usually does it, also in Transformers. Anyway, back to Chucky. So this whole rant was because I wanted to tell you that I'm watching this year Curse of Chucky from 2013 and not the original or the second or the third or Bride or Seed, because I have watched those movies a couple of times and I enjoy them a lot. I love their campy vibes. However, I wanted a bit of a change of scenery. It's still directed by Don Mancini and it's starring none other than Fiona Dourif, who is Brad Dourif's daughter. Brad Dourif himself is voicing Chucky again, and Jennifer Tilly. When a mysterious package arrives at a gloomy family mansion, wheelchair-bound Nika finds herself trapped in a thunderstorm with an all-too-familiar good guy doll. Bum, bum, bum! It's the stormy night reset to the franchise. This one's all creaky floors, lightning flashes, and a homicidal doll that feels scary again, ditching the campy vibes from Bride and Seed of Chucky. The knife used in flashbacks is the same prop from the original Child's Play, just playing into this thing that they wanted this movie to be more like the original. And the fact that Nina is played by Brad Dourif's daughter just adds this unintentional but creepy father-daughter tension to their scenes. The movie was shot almost entirely inside a single mansion in Winnipeg, giving it that gothic atmosphere. And Mancini this way restored the franchise's horror tone after the campiness of his last couple of movies. Next up, and this will make a lot of people happy, I guess, Candyman, 1992, directed by Bernard Rose, starring Tony Todd, Virginia Madsen, and Ted Raimi. Investigating an urban legend, a grad student accidentally summons the vengeful spirit of Candyman, a murdered artist with a hook for a hand, bees in his chest, and an aura of tragic romance. I must say that I have decided to watch this movie because I have had the soundtrack stuck in my head for a while and I couldn't get rid of it. And for me, this was a sign of, first of all, not saying Candyman thrice in the mirror, and second of all, to rewatch this movie. It's this urban decay meets gothic poetry. It's bloody, it's sensual, and it's haunting. It's a ghost story dripping with atmosphere. There's not many kills, and yet you keep having this dread that seeps through the movie. The insanity of it all was Tony Todd really had bees in his mouth for that iconic swarm scene. They used young, freshly hatched bees, so their stings would be less potent, and he earned $23,000 in bee bonuses because he was able to make it out in the contract that for each bee sting he would be paid $1,000, and he got 23 bee stings. Virginia Madsen was allergic to bees, and apparently, I'm not sure if this is true, but she underwent hypnotherapy to stay calm during her scenes with them. Abigail, 2024, directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett. It's starring Melissa Barrera, Dan Stevens, Alicia Weir, Kevin Durant, and Giancarlo Esposito. A group of criminals kidnap a young ballerina and lock her inside a remote mansion, only to learn that she's a centuries-old, bored vampire with a taste for blood and mind games. Kidnappers turn to prey as she turns the house into a blood-soaked ballet stage. It's ballet and violence that equals to artful carnage, and I'm using artful very loosely here. It's stylish, savage, and dripping with vampiric attitude. It's a perfect midnight pick. The directors, who also directed Ready or Not and Scream 5, called it our vampire playground. It's a mix of crime thriller and monster movie, and it shows. They used the stage so well. There is exploding blood, wonderful kills. The ballerina is savage. She is so bored and hungering for entertainment that she will not kill straight up. She will dance around her victims first and then she will attack them. Already just for that, it gets 10 points from me. That scene where she body slams Kevin Durant is beautiful. I was not expecting it. It was not on my bingo card, and yet there they were. The special effects team was led by Paul Byrne, who worked on Doomsday and Reign of Fire, just to name a few. A professional ballet dancer, Rachel Beinard, was used as a stunt double for the more dangerous and complex sequences in the finale, even though Alicia Weir performed many of her own stunts. Evil Dead Rise, 2023, directed by Lee Cronin, starring Lily Sullivan, Alyssa Sutherland, Morgan Davis, Gabrielle Eccles, and Nell Fisher. It's about two estranged sisters who reunite in a crumbling LA apartment building just in time for their kids to find the Necronomicon and unleash Deadites. What follows is pure unhinged chaos in a concrete coffin. Mothers have never been scarier. At least that's my thought on it. It's Evil Dead dragged out of the woods and dropped into a city landscape nightmare. It's claustrophobic, it's brutal, and soaked in gore. That cheese grater scene alone earns its unflinching Halloween crown. When that happened, I was sitting in the movies and the entire crowd just went, and that peephole scene, that was fantastic. I have never seen a peephole being used in such a beautifully messy and bloody way as I did there. Many people were complaining that you couldn't see the violence. However, I think it was a perfect balance. Over 1,700 gallons of fake blood were used, mostly practical, sticky, and sprayed from pressure rigs. The director said that his goal was family drama meets absolute body horror, and I loved every second of it. Alyssa Sutherland's Deadite performance was shot almost entirely with physical makeup, and for those who have been listening, Bruce Campbell makes a hidden voice cameo as one of the voices on the Necronomicon recordings that the child plays on the LP. The Monkey, 2025, directed by Osgood Perkins. Now, you knew that I was going to mention that one if you paid attention in my Hooptober. I did warn you about it, so don't get mad. It's one of my favorite Osgood Perkins movies. I find this one really hit the ball out of the park. It's starring Theo James, Tatiana Maslany, Elijah Wood, and Adam Scott. When twin brothers Bill and Hal find their father's old monkey toy in the attic, a series of gruesome deaths ensue. The siblings decide to throw the toy away and move on with their lives, growing apart over the years. As adults, the curse comes back. It's the kind of slow, creeping dread inspired by King's short story that Perkins turns into this nightmare about family, death, and acceptance. If you want to know exactly why this movie makes me so very happy and all the little tidbits of what kind of deaths were happening and what the story entails with all the spoilers, you can check it out up here. The film uses practical animatronics for the toy monkey and combines it with old school stop motion to make its movements feel uncanny. They also use the effect of lighting the toy's monkey eyes. This is usually to make people feel more lifelike, and they used the same technique for the monkey toy to make the monkey feel more alive than it should be. Perkins had a rule of thumb that none of these deaths can actually happen in the real world, and that made the effect of the deaths so much more fun to watch because it had this very Looney Tunes connotation to it, and he even says so. According to the director, the decision to have the monkey bang a drum instead of the cymbals was due to the rights to the cymbal banging version being owned by Walt Disney, as the toy appeared in Toy Story 3, which is ironic because the cymbal monkey in Toy Story 3 was inspired because the director is a fan of Stephen King. Disney, am I right? Barbarian 2022, directed by Zach Greger. It's starring Georgina Campbell, Bill Skarsgård, and Justin Long. Tess books a rental house in a sketchy Detroit neighborhood, only to find it's already occupied by another guest, played by Skarsgård. What starts as awkward quickly descends into a full-blown nightmare as she discovers what's lurking beneath the basement. Barbarian is unpredictable, funny, and horrifying. Every time you think you know what's happening, it just switches up and surprises you with twists and turns and a hard tonal shift in the middle that makes you go, what the heck? The title Barbarian started as a placeholder, but it stuck. The word ties neatly into the film's themes of primal violence and violation. The subterranean tunnel set was built entirely on a soundstage designed to feel like an impossible maze of dirt, pipes, and dread. The director Zach Greger said he wanted to start it like a rom-com and end it like a war crime. I agree. It was a hard watch. There is this one character, for those who haven't watched it, I will not spoil it for you, but I hated that character from the very beginning because Zach Greger doesn't play around with subtlety. He makes it very clear from the beginning which direction the characters are going, and you easily can give into the story. And the last one, I haven't watched this one yet. I'm super excited about it. I am gonna keep it for Halloween because I feel like this is gonna be a fun time. I'm going to be watching as the 13th and final movie, The Toxic Avenger from 2023. It's directed by Macon Blair and it's starring Peter Dinklage, Jacob Tremblay, Taylor Page, Kevin Bacon, and Elijah Wood. It's about a mild-mannered janitor at a corrupt chemical plant that gets terminally screwed over when a toxic accident mutates him into a deformed radioactive anti-hero, armed with a mop and a thirst for vengeance. Apparently, the director keeps the spirit of trauma alive with exploding heads, acid baths, and mutant justice. I don't usually like to read into movies. Already this is too spoilery for me, but I thought for this list I will research just the tiniest of bit. For me, it's the perfect finale for my Halloween marathon, going completely off the rails, because I feel like that is the theme of my this year's Halloween week, as you might have concluded by my movie lineup. So apparently it's a reimagining of Lloyd Kaufman's 1984 cult hit that was produced by Troma, and it has Troma's full blessing. The director himself is known for Green Room and Blue Ruin, both movies I like a lot, and he called it a love letter to bad taste with too much money. Which, listen, bad taste and too much money were never a bad mixture when it comes to campy horror movies. Until now. We shall see. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the movie yet. I will let you know. That was my Unholy 13. No snowstorms, no carpenter comfort food, just cursed toys, haunted mansions, vampires, gore, and slime. The full unhinged October chaos. What about you? What are you watching for Halloween? Are you running an all-week marathon like I am, or floating somewhere between pumpkin mist and witch's brew, cozy, tipsy, and slightly haunted at a party? What does your Halloween ritual look like? Let me know in the comments down below. And as usual, don't forget to sacrifice the subscribe button to summon my screams. Happy Halloween, void floaters. Bye!